Readings of Almighty God's Words. Exposing Antichrists.
Excursus 6. Summarizing the character of Antichrists and their disposition essence. Part 3. B. Being averse to the truth. Next, we will fellowship on the second item of the disposition essence of Antichrists, being averse to the truth. We have fellowshiped before on quite a few details about this item of being averse to the truth. But here, we will primarily classify Antichrists by dissecting their disposition essence that is averse to the truth. The main dispositional characteristic of how Antichrists approach the truth is aversion rather than merely being disinterested. Disinterest is just a relatively mild attitude toward the truth that has not escalated to the level of hostility, condemnation, or opposition. It's just lacking interest in the truth, not wanting to pay attention to it, and saying, "What positive things? What truth? Even if I gain these things, what of it? Will they improve my life or enhance my abilities?" They are uninterested in these things, and so they do not bother with them. But this falls short of aversion. Aversion indicates a certain attitude. What kind of attitude? As soon as they hear about any positive thing and anything related to the truth, they feel hatred, repulsion, resistance, and an unwillingness to listen. They may even try to find evidence to condemn and denigrate the truth. This is their disposition essence of being averse to the truth. Just like other people, Antichrists can read God's words, hear what God says, and experience the work of God. On the surface, it seems they can also understand the literal meaning of God's words, know what God has said, and know that these words enable people to take the right path and be good people. However, these things remain merely theoretical to them. What does it mean that they remain theoretical? It's similar to how some people might believe that a certain theory in a book is good, but when they compare it to real life and think about the evil trends, human corruption, and the various needs of all humankind, they find the theory to be impractical and disconnected from real life, and they realize that it cannot help people adapt to or follow after these evil trends and this evil society. Hence, they feel that this theory is good, but that it is only something to be spoken about, to satisfy humankind's wishes and fantasies for beautiful things. For instance, if someone likes status, and they wish to be an official, and to be exalted and worshipped among people, they must rely on abnormal methods like lying, showcasing themselves, and stepping on others, and so on to achieve this goal. However, these things are exactly what the truth condemns. It condemns and denies these desires and ambitions of humans. In real life, people think that distinguishing themselves is a legitimate thing to do, but such demands are condemned by God and the truth. Therefore, these demands are not accepted in God's house. There is no room for them to be brought into play, and there is no space for them to be realized. But will Antichrists give them up?
They won't give them up.
Right. They won't give them up. As soon as Antichrists see this, they think, I understand now. So, the truth requires people to be selfless, to sacrifice themselves, to be tolerant and generous, to lose their egos and live for others. This is the truth. Once they define the truth in this way, do they become interested in or repulsed by the truth? They become repulsed by it and repulsed by God, saying, God always speaks the truth. He always exposes impure things like human desires and ambitions, and he always exposes that which lies at the bottom of human souls. It seems God fellowships about the truth with the aim of depriving people of their pursuit of status, desires, and ambitions. Initially, I thought God could satisfy people's desires, fulfill their wishes and dreams, and give people what they want. I didn't expect that God was this kind of God. He doesn't seem that great. I'm filled with ambitions and desires. Can God like a person such as me? Judging from what God has always said, and reading between the lines of his words, it seems that God doesn't like people such as me, nor can he get along with someone like me. It seems like I can't get along with this kind of practical God. The words he speaks, the work he does, the principles for his actions, and his disposition. Why do I find them so disagreeable? God asks people to be honest, to have a conscience, to seek, obey, and fear God when things befall them, and to let go of their ambitions and desires. These are things I cannot do. What God demands is not only incompatible with human notions, it is also insensitive to human feelings. How can I believe in him? After turning things over in their minds like this, do they develop a good feeling toward God or grow distant from him? After a period of experience, Antichrists increasingly feel that people like them, who have ambitions and desires and are full of aspirations, won't be welcome in God's house, that there's no place here for them to use their skills, and that they cannot give free play to their aspirations here. They think, in God's house, I can't reveal my exceptional talent. I'll never have the chance to excel. They say I lack spiritual understanding, that I don't understand the truth, and that I have an Antichrist's disposition. Not only have I not been promoted or placed in an important position, I've also been condemned. What's wrong with establishing my own independent kingdom? What's wrong with me punishing others? Since I have power, I should act like this. Who wouldn't act like this if they had power? So what's wrong with me engaging in some foul play and cheating during elections? Don't all non-believers do the same? Why isn't it allowed in God's house? They even say that this is shameless. How can it be considered shameless? Man struggles upward. Water flows downward. This is proper. God's house isn't fun. But people in this world are pretty vicious and not easy to get along with. By comparison, the people in God's house are a bit better behaved. If there were no God, hanging around here would be wonderful. If there were no God and no truth governing people, I would be the boss in God's house, the master and the king. As they do their duties in God's house, they constantly experience various things. They are continually pruned, and they change to various different duties, and they finally realize something, saying, "In God's house, anything that happens is measured and resolved using the truth. The truth is always emphasized, and God is always talking about it. I cannot give free play to my aspirations here." Having reached this point in their experiences, they become increasingly averse to the truth, toward the truth reigning, toward everything God does being the truth, and toward seeking the truth. To what extent do they feel averse toward these things? They don't even want to acknowledge or accept the doctrines of the truths they acknowledged in the very beginning, and they feel extreme revulsion in their hearts. Therefore, as soon as it's time for a gathering, they become drowsy and anxious. Why are they anxious? They think, "These gatherings go on for 3 or 4 hours at a time. When will this be over? I don't want to listen anymore." There is a phrase that can describe their mood, which is sitting on pins and needles. They realize that as long as the truth reigns in God's house, they will never have a chance to excel, but will always be restricted, condemned, and rejected by everyone, and that no matter how capable they are, they won't be given important roles. Consequently, their loathing of the truth and God intensifies. Someone might ask, why didn't they feel loathing from the beginning? Indeed, they did feel loathing from the beginning, but at that time, everything in God's house was unfamiliar to them. They had no concept of it, but that doesn't mean they didn't feel loathing or aversion. In reality, they felt averse toward the truth within their nature essence. They just hadn't realized it themselves. These people's nature essence is undoubtedly averse to the truth. Why do I say this? They inherently love injustice, wickedness, power, evil trends, being in charge, controlling people, and all negative things like this. Judging by these things which they love, it is beyond doubt that Antichrists feel averse toward the truth. Furthermore, in terms of what they strive for status. They strive to distinguish themselves. They strive to put a halo on their head. They strive to be a leader among people, to be imposing and powerful, to have prestige and strength wherever they speak and act, along with the ability to control people. They strive for these things. This is also a manifestation of feeling aversion toward the truth. Judging furthermore by their attitude toward the truth, no matter how much of it these individuals hear, it will be of no avail. Some might ask, is it because they have a bad memory? No, it's not. Some Antichrists have excellent memories. They are especially eloquent, and they can apply and show off what they learn immediately. Those lacking discernment consequently think these individuals possess good caliber and have the Holy Spirit working in them. However, discerning people can recognize at once that what they speak is all doctrines and empty words, that it is devoid of any truth realities, and intended to mislead people. Antichrists are people like this. They particularly like to preach lofty sermons, discuss spiritual theories in an empty way, and pour forth a torrent of words, which, once it has begun, is off-topic and rambling. Many people cannot understand them, and Antichrists say, "This is the language of the third heaven. How could you understand it?" The primary manifestation of Antichrists being averse to the truth is seen in their attitude toward it. And of course, it also manifests in their usual daily lives and activities, especially in how they do their duties. They display several manifestations. First, they never seek the truth, even when they clearly know they should. Second, they never practice the truth. Since they don't seek the truth, how can they practice it? Only through seeking can there be understanding, and only understanding can lead to practice. They don't seek, nor do they take the truth principles to heart at all. They even disdain them, feel averse toward them, and view them with hostility. Consequently, they never even touch on the practice of the truth, and even if they understand the truth at times, they don't practice it. For instance, when something befalls them, and others suggest a good course of action, they might retort, "What's good about that? If I do that, won't my own ideas be wasted?" Some may say, "God's house will suffer losses if we do things your way. We must act according to the principles." They respond, "What principles? My way is the principle. Whatever I think is the principle." Isn't this not practicing the truth? Another of their primary manifestations is that they never read God's words or engage in spiritual devotions. When some people are busy with work and cannot find time to read God's words, they silently contemplate or sing a few hymns. And if they go many days without reading God's words, they feel a sense of emptiness. In the midst of their busyness, they steal a moment to read a passage and replenish themselves, pondering until they can sense God's presence, and their hearts become steady. Such people are not far from God. On the other hand, Antichrists don't feel distressed if they go a day without reading God's words. Even if they don't read God's words for 10 days, they feel nothing. They can still live quite well without reading God's words for a year. And they can even go 3 years without reading God's words and feel nothing. They do not feel afraid or empty in their hearts, and they continue to live comfortably. They must feel an intense aversion toward God's words. A person can go a day without reading God's words due to busyness, or perhaps 10 days for the same reason. However, if someone can go a whole month without reading God's words and still feel nothing, then there is a problem. If a year passes without a person reading God's words, they do not just lack a yearning for God's words. They have an aversion toward the truth. Another manifestation of Antichrists feeling aversion toward the truth is their contempt for Christ. We've fellowshipped about their contempt for Christ before. So, what has Christ done for them to hold him in contempt? Did he hurt or harm them, or do anything contrary to their wishes? Did he harm any of their interests? No. Christ holds no personal grudges against them, and they haven't even met him. How then could they hold him in contempt? the root cause lies in the Antichrist's essence of feeling aversion toward the truth. Another manifestation of Antichrists feeling averse toward the truth is their contempt toward the reality of all positive things. The reality of all positive things encompasses a wide range of things, such as all things that God created and their laws, various living things and the laws that govern their lives, and primarily the various laws that govern the lives of these living beings called humans. For example, the matters of birth, age, illness, and death that are closest to human life. Normal people's legs grow feeble as they age, their health declines, their eyes dim, they become hard of hearing, their teeth become loose, and they think that they must reconcile themselves to old age. God is sovereign over all this, and no one can go against this natural law. Normal people can acknowledge and accept all these things. However, no matter how long a person lives, or the state of their physical health, certain things don't change, such as the way in which they should do their duty, the position they should take, and the attitude with which they should do their duty. Antichrists, on the other hand, refuse to yield. They say, "Who am I? I can't grow old. I must be different from ordinary people at all times. Do I look old to you? There are certain things you can't do at this age, but I can. Your legs may grow feeble in your 50s, but mine remain nimble. I even practice jumping from rooftop to rooftop." They always want to challenge these normal laws that God ordained. They are constantly trying to break them and show others that they are different, extraordinary, and superior to ordinary people. Why do they do this? They want to challenge God's words and deny that His words are the truth. Isn't this a manifestation of Antichrist's essence of feeling aversion toward the truth? There is another aspect, which is that Antichrists revere evil trends and dark influences. This further confirms that they are enemies of the truth. Antichrists deeply admire and revere Satan's regime, and the various abilities, skills, and deeds of evil spirits spoken about in legends, as well as evil trends and dark influences. Their belief in these things is unshakable, and they never doubt them. Their hearts are not only free from aversion, but are full of respect, reverence, and envy for them. Even deep in their hearts, they closely follow these things. Antichrists have this kind of attitude deep in their hearts regarding these evil and dark things. Doesn't this mean that they are averse to the truth? Absolutely. How could anyone who loves these wicked and dark things love the truth? These are people that belong to the evil forces and to Satan's gang. Of course, they unwaveringly believe in the things of Satan, while their hearts are filled with repulsion and disdain for the truth and positive things. We'll more or less end our summary on the item of aversion toward the truth here. C. Viciousness. Another part of the disposition essence of Antichrists is viciousness. Antichrists can be summed up with one phrase: Antichrists are evil people. When they have status, it is evident that they are Antichrists. When they don't have status, how can you judge whether they are Antichrists? You must look at their humanity. If their humanity is malicious, insidious, and venomous, then they are 100% Antichrists. If someone has never had status and never been a leader, and their humanity is not good, how can you determine if they are an Antichrist? You have to see whether their humanity is venomous and whether they are an evil person. If they are an evil person, then even if they do not have status, they are 100% an Antichrist. Therefore, another typical aspect of the disposition essence of Antichrists is viciousness. Is the vicious disposition of Antichrists the same as the viciousness of lions or tigers hunting prey? Carnivores hunt because of hunger. It is a bodily need and an instinct. But when they are not hungry, they won't hunt. How is this different from the viciousness of Antichrists? Is it the case that Antichrists do not become fierce if you don't provoke them, and only become fierce when they're provoked? Or is it the case that they won't control you if you don't listen to them, but will control you if you do? Or is it the case that they won't punish you as long as you listen to them, but will punish you if you don't? The viciousness of Antichrists is a disposition, an essence. It is a genuine satanic essence. It is not an instinct, nor a need of the flesh, but rather a manifestation and characteristic of the disposition of Antichrists. So, what are the manifestations, revelations, and approaches of the vicious disposition of Antichrists? Which of their actions represent that their disposition is vicious, that they have the essence of evil people? Share your thoughts.
They punish others.
They suppress and exclude those who are different from them.
They frame others and set traps for them.
They control and manipulate people.
They create cliques and sow discord.
Creating cliques and sowing discord are a bit insidious. These are manifestations of a wicked disposition, but they fall short of viciousness. Spreading notions, establishing independent kingdoms. Are these vicious? Opposing work arrangements, disturbing the work of God's house, seizing hold of God's offerings, and directly opposing God. Are these vicious? Seizing hold of offerings is not just greedy. It is also a manifestation of a vicious disposition. That Antichrists can seize hold of offerings indicates an extremely vicious disposition, equal to that of bandits. Restate the items we just summarized.
They punish others, suppress and exclude those who are different from them, frame them and set traps for them, control and manipulate people, spread notions, establish independent kingdoms, oppose work arrangements, attack God, and seize hold of offerings.
9 items in total. These are more or less the manifestations of the vicious disposition of Antichrists. In fact, there are still some specific manifestations, but they are nearly identical to these, so I will not list them in detail. In short, those who employ these approaches and strategies are evil people. In one respect, their approaches are insidious. For example, framing, setting traps, and spreading notions are all relatively insidious. In another respect, their strategies are quite venomous and fierce, which qualifies them as having a vicious disposition. Judging from these three aspects of the disposition essence of Antichrists, can they be saved? Are they willing to labor in God's house? They do not pursue the truth. They do not love the truth, and their hearts are filled with hostility toward God and positive things. They are even unwilling to do the most basic things, laboring and fulfilling their duty in God's house. That is, they can't even do what a person should normally do. Not only can they not do it, but on the contrary, they disturb, disrupt, and ruin the normal order of brothers and sisters doing their duties, as well as normal church life. At the same time, they disturb the work of God's house, people's normal life entry, and God's normal work in people. And that's not all. They also want to rule and wield power in God's house. They wish to mislead, draw in, and control people, to establish their own independent kingdoms and factions in God's house, and to completely turn those who follow God into their own followers, so that they may achieve their ambition and desire of wielding power and influence, of controlling God's chosen people, and of putting on a rival show to God. So, is there any value at all to using Antichrists in God's house? Can they serve any good function at all in God's house? Judging from their humanity to their pursuits, from their ambitions and desires to the paths they tread, and their attitude toward the truth and God, in God's house, such people can only serve the function of disturbing, disrupting, and ruining the work of God. They cannot serve even the slightest positive function because they never pursue the truth, and in their nature essence, they are averse toward the truth and filled with hostility toward the truth and God. This is the essence of Antichrists. As of now, we have completely finished fellowshipping on the various manifestations of Antichrists. Through what we have fellowshipped about today, are you now able to discern Antichrists? To summarize it with the simplest phrase, evil people are Antichrists, and Antichrists are all evil people. By putting it like this, haven't things become much clearer to you? Aren't they easier to understand now? Over the past 2 years, we have been continually dissecting the nature essence of Antichrists, and you have undergone a lot of refinement, worrying whether you might be an Antichrist. Now, the result has finally come out. The process has been quite challenging, but the final result is good. You have the disposition of an Antichrist, but you are not an Antichrist. How did you come to this understanding? Which line of my fellowships made you realize this?
Last time, through God's fellowship on the difference between the character and disposition essence of Antichrists and that of other people, we began to understand a little. People with a conscience and reason can repent and change after doing evil, while those who possess the disposition essence of Antichrists are staunchly unrepentant and don't feel anything, no matter how much evil they commit.
People have some revelations of the disposition of Antichrists, but these are involuntary and do not come from their proactive will. When these revelations are discovered, people feel discomfort, pain, remorse, and a sense of indebtedness. And then they can gradually reverse their course. When people understand this point, they feel much more at ease and find that there is still room for them to be saved, and that they are not antichrists. Although they have some relation to the disposition of antichrists, fortunately, they have no relation to the disposition essence of antichrists. As long as you are not an evil person, you are not an antichrist. But does that mean you don't have the disposition of antichrists? When I say now that everyone has the disposition of antichrists, do you feel resistant in your hearts?
I don't.
You don't feel resistant. You can accept this fact now. Summarize the manifestations of the disposition essence of antichrists.
Antichrists are averse toward the truth. They hate the truth and will never accept the truth.
This gets to the essence. Antichrists will never accept the truth. They feel averse and hostile toward the truth. Some people do not pursue the truth, but they are not hostile toward it. And they also think that all of what God says is right and good. And they admire and want to pursue it, but they have poor caliber and lack a path. Others have no interest in the truth, but they aren't hostile toward it either. They are the lukewarm type. However, antichrists are different. They feel averse and hostile toward the truth. The moment the truth or God is mentioned, they feel hatred. And trying to make them accept the truth makes them become abnormal. They feel repulsed in their hearts, never accepting it. This is the essence of antichrists. What else?
Antichrists are staunchly unrepentant, no matter what they do wrong, and they will never practice the truth.
They won't recognize their own mistakes. They never repent, and they will not change over the course of many years. They don't acknowledge that God is the truth, that God's words are the truth. So how could they practice the truth? They lack humanity. They are not human. They are devils, Satans, and enemies of God. So they absolutely won't practice the truth.